And we're on. It's such an honor to have you on our Quebec radio show. There's such a love affair between Quebec and you guys. And I mean it from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for your time. And for people that don't recognize you, who the hell are you?
Yeah, who's this guy? It's Igor Cavalera from Brazil, originally from Sepultura, and now with Cavalera Conspiracy and many other projects, speaking to you guys straight from London, UK.
You're gonna hit the road doing a really nostalgic tour because there's two album evolved, and those two albums I think were really important in the music history, not just for metal, for the whole music history thing. And it's Rise and Beneath the Remains, and I think that Beneath the Remains was really the album that defined where Sepultura was the path that it followed. So for you, what memories it brings to get to those records, back to those records?
I mean, like you said, it's of course we have a long history before Beneath the Remains, and but mainly doing a lot of stuff in Brazil and in South America. And then with Beneath the Remains, we finally got to sign a deal with a label that could expose us to many other places, including, of course, Canada. As you stated, we have a very amazing relationship with Canada, from not only from playing a lot of amazing shows there, but also for appreciation of bands like Voivod and things like that, which is like probably one of our main influences in the beginning, because they still to this day, I'm a huge Voivod fan. Not only Voivod, but also the artworks of Michel. Away, he's a quite an inspiration for me as a drummer, but also as an artist. So we have a long thing with Canada, and it's one of my favorite places to go.
That's so cool, and it's cool that you mentioned Voivod because they never like were, they're big here in a way, but it took so much time for them to be recognized. And when bands are mentioning them, it's really cool because yeah, you're right. They forged the history of Montreal and Quebec, mellow scene, which is
Yes.
now evolving a lot more than back in the days. There was just a few, so yeah. And I know they love you guys, and that's the thing, I'm sure that when you entered the studio for Beneath the Remain, you were so focused on doing something, to get the band bigger and bigger, that you didn't realize the impact you have on the scene, and all the band you influence.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, like you said, it was quite a special time when we did those two records, because of course we were exploring many different musical ideas, and again, coming from a huge Voivod fan. I remember telling Max, and when he was writing some riffs, to tell him like, oh, we should go a little more piggy, like Voivod, like style guitar playing, because he was always so unique for me, on the way he did. I think something a bit more cinematic with his guitar, and less of a shredder like guitar player. And those things attract me a lot, when someone uses an instrument almost as a percussion, and they're not trying to be Ingwe Malmsteen or some crap like that, So they're going for like noises and certain things, like, or even, like you're wearing a Ramones sweatshirt, like even stuff like this, where it's like the simplicity and the minimalism of things are very cool in a way. So I guess we were going through that path also, where finding ourselves, coming from a background of like death metal and black metal in the beginning of Sepultura, and then exploring a lot more afterwards. And Beneath the Remains really translates that, where of course, there's a lot of punk influence, a lot of hardcore and industrial, all those things. So it was a special time also because we were very open to those ideas rather than a lot of other bands or even the scene itself. Sometimes it seems like they were closed off. You know, they
Yeah.
were too radical. It's like, oh, it has to be metal. And if you don't wear black, you're a poser. If you don't have your hair this way. And for me, that was always the most silly thing you can think. You know, if you think of punk rock, it's about freedom, or even metal. In my opinion, I grew up to love metal because it made me different. And then when people were trying to stereotype everybody to wear the same clothes, the same colors, and that was just boring for me, you know.
Yeah, you're right. And it's such an interesting point because, you know, when you look at it in the history of music, metal and punk always be, you know, on two separate roads, but those roads cross a lot. And now it's, you know, people are more aware of that, but there's so much similarities in the two scene. Like you said, the code, the punk rock did the same thing for many years. You have to have that patch and that thing, or you're not punk rock. You have to wear the mohawk or
Yeah.
whatever. I think that music is the liberty to be yourself, not playing a game of trying to be something else. And I think that's the whole point of Sepultura at that time. You know, you when you enter the studio, you didn't have that idea that it was queer and it's gonna sound like a little bit of trash, but death metal. It was really open and kind of prog in a way, like Voivod. And I think that's why it's still accurate to this day when you listen to those records, because you guys were thinking more of the future of music than just trying to reproduce something that is now.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you because, like you said, it was important to, of course, explore new ideas and try to be open-minded about things. And and those are very important points that bands all over the world were doing this. Not the majority, but a lot of the bands, even like by the covers of things that they would choose to do a cover of a band. If you did something different that out of like just covering another metal song, there was always something cool about incorporating, like bringing some of the punk elements, or even going a bit more crazy, like Celtic Frost, like
Yeah.
cover Wall of Voodoo, which is like a weird, like pop, new wave band. So all those things for me, they were so much more exciting than just people afraid of experimentation. And I guess those two records, they were a beginning of us becoming more and more comfortable with that, which is like being open-minded and also having fun. And that's something that I always felt very important. You need to enjoy what you're doing. Otherwise, again, you're just doing this as a job. If you're just trying to please your label, or even trying to please your friends who listen to your music, or your fans, all that stuff, you got to have fun and enjoy those moments. And we definitely did that.
Yeah, yeah. And when I saw you at the Ozfest, that's what I saw. People that were having the time of their life and that were grateful to be at that position at that time and that were ready to. And that's the thing, you know, a lot of bands don't understand that. It takes a lot of times, you know, and I know you guys, it was a hard road, but, you know, when you look at it at the end, it's really worth it. And, you know, most of the band, it take more than just 5 years to accomplish something big, and you did it because you stick to it. And I think that the idea of getting a studio was kind of, we have to, it's a matter of life and death, and we have to do something that gonna get us, somewhere else, and we're gonna try something different after that.
Yeah, I mean, that's also something that it's important, because when you're taking something that's serious, it is something that you put 24 hours of your time into it. It's not really just going and working for a few hours. Like, we breathe our music, like that's what we do. And then when people say that sometimes, like being in a band is so much easier than being on a 9 to 5 kind of job. I think it has elements that, of course, are more difficult, and of course, some of them are easier. But the fact that you don't disconnect from your job, not even for a minute, it's pretty crazy, because that's what we do. Like I go to bed thinking about music, about drums and things, and then I wake up, and it's nonstop. So there's no disconnection. So you're always connected to your art.
It's true. It's true. And physically, with times, as a drummer, I'm sure it's getting more harder in a way. So maybe at 20s, yeah, it's a perfect job. But when you got to 50, 60, it's way more harder. So yeah, like you said, if it were easy, everybody would do this. Everybody would have metal band back in the days. It's tough, and it's something that you have, and you challenge yourself every time to get better. So it's never like being comfortable. It's just getting out of your comfortable zone all the time.
Yeah, it's that's also something that is quite important. It's the idea of pushing limits of creativity, and yeah, not being comfortable too much, not being too much in a comfort zone, in the sense that you always will try new things and always push yourself to try different stuff, that also not for the sake of just doing it, but also because you're feeling that urge to experiment with new sounds, with new ideas, and also evolving as a musician, and also as an artist.
Yeah, yeah, it's always the next thing too. So that's cool when you took a step ahead and just like, okay, we're gonna get back to Beneath the Remain and Arise, and it's so cool because like me, I'm 40. I was not there. The first record I bought from Sepultura was Arise, a couple of years after the release, just before the Chaos 80 release. And I didn't saw that tour. I was not there with Beneath the Remains, and I'm sure a lot of people are in the same position and just like to get back and finally see those two whole records. It's crazy.
I mean, I have to say that I speak as a fan. When me and Max decided to do those tours, I have to say, to be quite honest with you, at first I was a bit hesitant. I was like, I don't know, I like to move to the future and do things in the future. And then something happens here in London where I live. I went to see this band called Black Flag, which it's a band that I love, and I never, exactly as you, I never had a chance to see Black Flag growing up in Brazil. They never came to South America or anything like that. So I went to see them here in London. Right now, they all pretty much between their 50s and 60s, like older guys, and it was such a pleasure to see it. And I came out of that show so impressed on how, like, well, it is important that, if those bands do this for the people that never had a chance to see it. And I felt like one of those guys. And I called Max, and I remember, and I was like, look, man, let's do this, because if people feel what I felt when I saw Black Flag at today, then I'm happy. You know what I mean? And that was the thing that really struck me, because otherwise you just think of the financial, like, oh, we can do this, and people are gonna come to the show. But I think as a fan, that's something that really sparked something in me when I went to see those guys. And I was like, man, they're kicking ass. Their set list, they were playing a lot of the songs that I never got to see live, only on video or YouTube or those things. So for me, that was an inspiration, and I took that as an example of course, there's going to be bands who cannot do the same as they did at that time, and there is bands who they're going to go crazy and then go 100% for it, and you're going to catch that feeling. And that's what I felt with Black Flag, and I hope a lot of our fans can have that same feeling. If you missed that in 89 and 90, if you can do this right now and create a bit of that buzz, that vibe, then I'm happy, you know.
You're right. You're right. And it's so cool. It's really a cool story. Did you saw Flag with Keith Morris or
Yes.
you saw Flag with, oh shit. That was, I saw them twice. Amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say I'm a huge Greg Ginn fan. So I also, a few months later, I saw Black Flag
Cool.
with him, and it was also amazing because he's one of my favorite guitar players also. So I get to see the two versions of the bands that they were touring, and I have to say they were both amazing. I love, you know, watching both of them. You know, it was like different vibes, different ideas, but also super strong lineups. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, and Greg Ginn, the way he play guitar, like you said, it's not that complicated, but the way he's shredding and everything, the sound, it's something that, was never done again after that. It's Black Flag thing.
Yeah, man. I mean, if even if you think of someone like a band like Sonic Youth, I think it's all based on Greg Ginn. You know, like the way that he attacks the guitar, and then the noises, and also how solid he plays. It's totally influenced by Greg Ginn, and yeah. So it was, I was fortunate enough to catch them on that tour, and it was great, man.
Wow. Last Sunday, I went to see the Circle Jerks. And, like you said, it's crazy to see those guys in their 60s, like just punk rocking and
Yeah,
just get off. It's crazy. 7 Second was there and it was the same thing, and the crowd went nuts. And that's the thing you're gonna love, because you start up the tour and people were getting crazy and yeah, we got something special. And then bam, the pandemic. But I think people realize the importance of seeing shows in their life, even people that did not attempt to a lot,
yeah,
we miss that and people go nuts. It's crazy. From what I saw the last month, it's just crazy.
yeah, man. I mean, I have to say, of course, that the pandemic, it was something that caught everyone as unexpected. Of course, we if you ask me 5 years ago that this would happen, I would be laughing. I would be saying like this is a sci-fi movie. You know, that wouldn't happen nowadays at all. Like people with masks and things like that. But then again, I think that also brought a realization of all of us on how important live music is. You know, like going into like the ritual of going into a concert and experiencing this this vibe of with friends, with people sometimes that you don't know, but they're there for the same reason as you, so you become part of this I don't know, gang or a
Yeah,
crew.
totally.
Yeah, and family. So it's like it's super important. And maybe before the pandemic we lost a bit track of how important it was. And so now yeah, I even go to a few gigs when I go, and I realize how much I miss, like during the pandemic, not when nothing was happening. Of course I had music, I have art, movies and things like that, but the live experience, it's something that it goes beyond everything. It's almost like a religious thing.
Yeah, yeah. And as I repeat myself, I saw you guys many times and the crowd are the energy that they gave you and the fuel you gave them. It's something that is really unique to every band. If you go see Iron Maiden, it's different vibe. If you go see Slayer, it was a different vibe. And you guys too. But yeah, you're right. And mentally you feel so great after seeing a show for the next 2 or 3 days. So yeah, I think that mentally you guys are therapists. Like the government should give you the therapist salaries.
Well, yeah, I mean, not the therapy salary, but I think another thing is that during the pandemic we also realized how most people would survive mentally health with music and books and art. That was the savior.
Yeah,
And I just wish that, like you said, the government would pay more attention to that, because it wasn't, like it was, for my self speaking, those things pretty much save my mental health, my records, my films, and of course, like being in with the family, but also those escapes are very important,
You're right. It was the same with me. I'm listening to a lot music, but I was listening to way more music. I read more books,
Yeah.
trying to keep my mind occupied and just try to keep yourself going, even if you don't do nothing. Just trying to make a next step in the culture thing. And yeah, the culture, like going to a museum, just seeing a concert, going to movies, it is all that,
Yeah.
it keep the balance for everybody. But the good thing is, I'm sure a lot of kids or people that knew about you guys but didn't listen to, just discover that old discography that was that didn't took time for. So I'm pretty sure you're gonna see like new faces, maybe kids going to show because they discover like that era of music and all the projects you did after that.
Yeah, that's also an amazing thing, because of course you have the diehard, as we know, metal, punk, and hardcore. There's a huge loyalty to it. So you, of course, you see those old faces there, who people who were been following the band for a long time. But also, it's important to have the new blood, the newer generations, who are still interested on checking some of the stuff that it was done in the past, and also checking it at the moment. So I think it's a good combination. It's not only for the old school fans. It's something that it's open for everyone.
Yeah, yeah, and I think those two records, are for metal fans. Everything is in there. It's a good combinations, and people gonna freak out. We hope to see you around Quebec. We mentioned it. There's a special place in Quebec, and last time you came, it was crazy. I was there for the Roots tour, which is cool because I saw the tour in 1996 with Ozzy, and to see that like almost 20 years later, it was kind of surreal.
Yeah, man, it's cool. I mean, like I said, it's we have a very special relationship with Canada in general. So it's something that I look forward to hopefully have more and more gigs on the future.
Yeah, and we start to have great festival here, which we didn't have. It's where Europe has festival for the last decade, the 3 decades, and now it's a new thing here to have bigger festival. But yeah, you went at Rock Fest too. We met there. It was crazy.
That's awesome, man.
I remember there was a spot on the side stage, backstage. So me and my girlfriend said, "There's a spot. Let's go see, catch them like backstage." And it was the Fog Machine, and we got like all the fucking smog for
Yeah,
3 songs. And okay, I'm done. And people were laughing and like, yeah, that's why there's nobody there.
yeah. That's not the magic spot, right?
No, no, not at all. We mentioned roots. It's cool that we can talk about that. I know you guys, with Sepultura and everything. It's kind of the story is just sick, but that you guys are able to get back to that and the nostalgia behind that. It's crazy because after all those records put not just yourself on the map, but put the fucking old Brazil on the map. And that's the thing.
Yeah, I mean, Roots, it carries also that historical thing, which it was, a very special conceptual record that we wanted to show a lot of our roots, where we come from, and musically, lyrically, all that stuff. So it's a quite a special record, not only for us as Brazilians, but also as an example for people all over the world, that it's important to know your roots and respect those roots. No matter if you're from Norway, Canada, Australia, that was also our idea. Also, it was to inspire other people to respect their roots instead of just living in the future.
Right, you're right, and I'm pretty sure Voivod would agree with that. It's using your own country, even if it's not. We're French, we're not American, we're not English, we're American, but North American, it's different.
Yeah,
But using that as a weapon, because I'm pretty sure that a lot of people were like, "How that sound Brazil metal?" and get to Sepultura. Wow, man! It's something that it's important.
yeah. I mean that's it. It's something that it's also quite special for us because again, it was about making that work in a sense that it's still powerful. It still has our identity to it. So it's not just showing our Brazilian roots just for the sake of showing, but also creating something that it was a mixture of things that fit our style of music because we never really played just Brazilian music. We
Yeah,
played hard music, which is like a combination of metal and all those extreme things. And then trying to bring those elements, that was something that it was challenging, but also very important for us.
yeah, it's pretty rad. Here it's Celine Dion, in Brazil is Sepultura.
Yeah, of course, like Canada has a lot more than that. Like she's a more of a pop name, but I think Canada has a quite extensive list of amazing artists. I mean, like we mentioned Voivod, and we could even go with like bands like No Means No or amazing stuff that came out of Canada. So yeah, I usually I tend to skip the Celine Dion from my list.
Did you saw like they did the Celine Dion shirts metal? And
Uh,
sure you're gonna see that if you come to Quebec and Canada. But you're right, and No Means No, wow, and it's another band that should have way more success, but still they're such a legend, and another band that didn't try to fit somewhere. They just did what they had to do, and they're amazing.
that's it, man. Like that's why they're so special. That's why people still remember them because they were quite unusual in the best way possible, which is like pushing the limits of being creative.
Yeah, and they push the limit of beer too, because they release like VHS of how to brew your own beer at home in the late '80s, where like it's not like now where microbrewery stuff are so duffing and
Yeah.
everybody wants to brew beer. They were like 20 years ago, like, yeah, we're gonna show you how to save on beer.
Well, they were definitely ahead of their time.
Yeah, yeah, and DOA paved the road, with touring and everything. So yeah, there's a lot of history in Canada, and that's cool because I think that in Quebec, more in Quebec, we're not that proud of our culture. We're really shy about that. So when band like you came to us and say, "Man, you got that," we're just like, "Yeah, what the fuck, we got that."
Yeah, and of course, like there is a fine line between being proud of your roots and not to be confused with being nationalist and things like that. Because I think that's also important. It's like you have to be proud, but also that cannot be something that means you're better than anybody else. Because you're not. Like we are not. By being Brazilian doesn't mean nothing. It just means we all different, but also at the same time we all have this special things that we should celebrate.
Yeah, you're right. Everybody, every human has something special, but not everyone, let their heart go or let their thing go and they're frustrated. And I don't remember, I did an interview, I don't remember the artist who told me like most of people that do a lot of drugs and are not happy are people that don't create. They restrain themselves.
Yeah, I mean, of course, I think in this life, it's all about balance. I try not to be as radical as saying like don't do drugs, or or the other way around. I think it's about balancing yourself and finding those elements where you can be creative, and you can use drugs if you want to also enhance that your creativity. That's also fine, as long as you don't become a slave of that. Then it's cool.
Yeah, and it's for everything. You're right.
Yeah, it's about balancing. And then again, that's something that we should learn from different cultures. Like a lot of people in India and China, they be teaching this balance, and also like natives from all over the world. It's all about balancing with nature and things like that.
Yeah, amen. You're right. Igor, you're such generous of your time and everything, man. We're gonna wait, of course, for that tour in Canada and Quebec,
Yeah,
and
can't
uh,
wait. I can't wait to do it, man. Hopefully we'll be soon enough.
we're patient. We're gonna wait, but yeah, yeah, of course, we want to see that tour. It's gonna be crazy. People, there's ticket. Go buy them. Encourage the band. Go grab merch. If you don't have a lot of money, learn the song, sing them loud, and hell yeah!
That's it, my brother. All right. Thank you for your time also.
Thank you so much, Igor. Catch you in Quebec and have a blast.
All right. Thanks, brother. See you.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Cheers.